Hi, everyone. Hi, Roberta.
Hi, Barbara.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. If you're watching live or in the replay, we're really glad you're here for what I know is going to be a really important discussion for all of us, regardless of what you do in life. Let me start by saying I'm Barbara Fonte. I am the founder of Big Dream Executive Coaching, and I coach people to reach their full potential and to thrive in their everyday lives. And one of the things I absolutely love about being a coach is that I get to meet these other coaches that are super talented and super smart. And I have one such coach with me today, which is the fabulous Roberta Ryan. Roberta and I know each other because we're both positive intelligence coaches and we reside in different spaces and have gotten to know each other a little bit over the last couple of years. And so, Roberta, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
joining us. I'm going to turn things over to you to introduce yourself, and then we'll get started.
Great. Thank you, Barbara. I really appreciate you inviting me and putting this all together. It's wonderful. I've always admired you, gotten to know you. So I'm Roberta Ryan. I'm a business coach and a strategic partner for creative, intuitive small business owners. And I'm especially good at working with established owners that, despite all the efforts they've made, they're still not achieving the success they know is possible. And my approach with them focuses on aligning their work with their strengths and their values. So they really build a strong foundation and can really weather whatever ever comes up. I help people really become solid, confident business owners.
I love that. Solid, confident business owners. And I know you work a lot with people on reclaiming
Yes.
their value and leaning into their power. Um, let's start by saying, what does it mean to reclaim your value? Tell me what that means.
Yeah, for me, it really has to do with reclaiming the confidence, becoming confident with the importance of what you bring to your clients. So it's a process of identifying and building your business around your intrinsic strengths, the ones you love to use, the ones that your clients really value. And so when that happens, you charge fairly, so there's not the same financial struggle. You set healthy boundaries, so you're not overgiving or feeling overwhelmed. And actually, marketing becomes much easier because you start being excited about what you're doing. You're owning the value you bring. And I think very few things impact our business more than building them around the daily activities building your daily activities around what you really love doing.
Yeah. I love that, especially because it seems like in order to thrive, we really have to be authentic. And yet it's so easy to get into that pattern of looking at what everybody else is doing. Right.
Yes.
And of course, we've got this like contrast bias and we're beating each other up. Why aren't I doing this? And look how successful they are, which.
Yeah, sure.
True. So, yeah, but I do want to ask you, I've been wanting to ask you, why are we saying reclaim instead of just claim your value?
Isn't that a good question? I think I've got a program called Reclaim Your Value. And that's a question that was asked to me right off the bat when I started marketing it. And I believe we're all born embodying our value. And then life happens. Family dynamics, cultural norms, and the educational systems really shape how we relate to the world. And we begin to doubt ourselves, compare ourselves with others, and focus on our shortcomings instead of our strengths. And so that's why it's reclaimed, because I think our natural healthy person is in our value. We've just lost that connection.
Okay, that makes sense. See, I didn't know that before, and you explained it so beautifully, and it makes perfect sense. We're born this beautiful being, and then we get these messages that make us believe otherwise.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's getting in touch with who you really are and leading into that power. I don't know. I don't think we've ever talked about this, but there was this book that I read years ago from Barbara Corcoran, the real estate mogul and the shark on Shark Tank. And she wrote this book called, all right, so just bear with me on the title. I didn't create it. It's If You Don't Have Big Boobs, Put Ribbons in Your Pigtails, which is a catchy title.
Yeah.
And of course, the point is, it sounds like it's exactly what you're saying. It's like, look, don't try to be something else. Be who you are.
Yes,
Lean
yes,
into your strengths. Um, so you're a business coach.
right.
And I know you probably are attuned to seeing things that I see all over the digital world, which is people going out there and proposing programs to show people how to build their business. And it seems like a lot of these things are focused on tactics and
Yes.
strategies like, oh, well, build a funnel, or, let me show you how to make money out of webinars and blah, 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 blah. And it does get the interest of people. It does pique people's interest. So I'm curious, like, why start with uh, the reclaiming of your value and leaning into your strengths as opposed to really just hopping into some tactics and strategies to help people build their business?
I think that the value in ourselves and valuing what we bring is fundamental to all aspects of our business. And so when we do embody that confidence, we make different choices. So people can scurry around and get a great website. They can do a lot of other things, but if they're not confident in what they bring, they're always going to be less. They may earn more money, but they may not feel confident. I mean, I think success really, I define it as is being financially stable, but also having a lifestyle that works for you, enjoying your work. There's more to making the impact you want to make. And so, if we're not grounded in the value we bring, I don't think we can actually achieve the level of success that matches those 3 points.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, which is really just one of the things that's my sticking point is, what's that journey going to be like,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah,
It's got to be
good point.
as important as the goals. Where do you see people struggling the most in this process?
That's just a really good. You mean the process of being in business, small
Yeah.
business owners? Yeah, yeah. There's 3 areas that I find for the small business owners I work with. One of them is really around this. A, a professional that doesn't appreciate the value they bring to their clients, especially if there's somebody that draws from their intuitive or creative nature for the work they're creating, versus somebody that's linear or more intellectual in how they approach things. Um, and I think that's number one. The other one is that people are really driven by internal critical voices
Mm.
that can be, as we know, can be really brutal and relentless, and they discount us. We believe them. So I think that's number two. The third one is small business owners often don't have really fundamental business skills. They learn how to do LinkedIn, they learn how to do programs, different things that are out there. But I think a lot of what's presented in these programs, great advisors, great advice, good coaches, is that it's at a more of a calculus level, and if you haven't learned arithmetic, you feel like you're never quite understanding what's going on.
Mm.
So those are the 3 areas: the claiming our value, the critical voices, and then the lack of foundational business skills.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
question, Barbara. Thank you.
Thanks. And yeah, and it sounds like also as you're talking, it's sort of what's coming up for me is the fact that um, we go into business because for many of us, we want to serve others, and maybe we have a product or a service that we want to provide. And then we get into business and we realize we have to be sort of an IT person and
That's right. That's right.
all these things. And sometimes those thoughts about those things really create resistance, especially when it comes to, I find, learning all of the different resources that are out there, right? Like you and I
Yes, exactly.
have
Yeah.
software and so forth. And so, as you're walking me through that, it seems obvious now that, when you've got this feeling strong, that when it comes to learning those things, you're going to be more powerful and maybe a
Yes.
bit more ease and flow in that process
Yeah, absolutely.
that you're
So,
experiencing too.
so Barbara, why don't we see if there's who's joined us? I'd love to hear. I'd love for folks to drop into the comment section where you're calling in from, so we know who's with us today.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. You're keeping me on track, Roberta. I appreciate you. I didn't even mention the comment section. It's for those of you who are watching. One of the things about these programs is that we have no idea who's watching.
We don't know who's watching us. Please.
We'd love to know. At least if you're watching it live. But there are comment sections if you're watching it in the replay. You can put it in as well. So you can go in the comments and just say hi. I know we've got some of our fellow positive intelligence coaches online today, and we appreciate you. But yeah, you can feel free to use the comments, or if you have a question, you can as well.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. So, oh, hey, Angie.
Angie from Calgary.
Yeah. Good to see your face, Angie.
Thanks.
So, I wanted to really dive into the whole idea of just sort of power for a moment.
Okay.
And, yeah. And
we've got more people coming in. Look at this.
Yeah. Oh, look at this.
Anne, Wendy, Sonia from
Cambridge. Nice.
Cambridge, yeah. That's great. I think there's a slag time.
And Wendy is in Huntington Beach, California. Wendy, I'm in Huntington right now too, but I'm on the other coast in New York. So welcome. Your weather in Huntington Beach is better than my weather in
Huntington, New York.
Yeah, a little chilly out there today. And Anne is here. Hey, Anne. Good to see you.
Oh, and Paulina made it. Great. Nice to see you, Paulina.
Oh, more people with great weather.
More people with great weather.
We appreciate you being here. And, please put in the chat or the comments if you've got questions or something maybe you're grappling with that you'd like us to focus on. We're here to serve. We're here to serve.
Great. Thank you.
So let's talk about power.
Okay, let's talk about power.
Powerful. We all want to get out of bed and be like, yeah, I'm ready to go, or I've got this tough thing to tackle, but I can power through it. And I'm very curious. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here, Roberta.
Okay.
And ask you, where does your power come from?
That's a really good question. I think ultimately it comes from my belief that there's a universal design, a balance to the system, and it fuels my my optimism. It's like whatever situation is in front of me, whether it's with the clients in my personal life, I always know there's a way to figure it out. I had a mom that was really good with crafts, sewing, anything like that. And it didn't matter what it was, she could figure it out. And things didn't always work out, but she, it's a creative process. You go, well, okay, I learned, what's next? How can I figure this out? And so I've embodied that when I work in the whole of my life and in business. It's like, I think there's a balance, and we just need to find the alignment and the balance to resolve whatever the issue is.
Sounds like you're an optimist.
I'm very much an optimist. Yes.
Have you always been an optimist?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's just really part of my DNA.
Okay. So I'm sure as a coach, you've worked with people who are, just their go-to is optimism, but then there are probably some people also that you've worked with or experienced that, the glass is half empty rather than half full. So is there a difference in how you approach working with people that have that, or are there any advice or things that you bring into your
No, I don't know. I've never really reflected on that. There are people that I work better with than others, but it seems like it's more connected to their approach in life, versus like people that are highly intellectual and approach things in a real linear way. I don't have as much connection to or success with as I do people that have a more intuitive or reflective approach to life. But I haven't thought of it in terms of optimism, pessimism. What about you? How does this land with you? And where do you get your power from?
Good question. Okay, boy, okay.
Turn the tail.
I had it coming, I guess. And thank you for letting me do that. I think a lot of my power, and we've talked about this before, that I am actually an introvert. Although when I tell people that, they're like, what? So any power that I have or any confidence that I display comes simply from having to overcome things and putting myself out there. I think the one area that I do think I have some strength in is getting uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
in uncomfortable places. And I think that's a combination of overcoming some childhood trauma, which took
Uh-huh.
a lot of time and work to do. And also going into a sales profession years ago, being an introvert, not being able to advocate for myself, even speak up for my basic needs as a child, and then, getting thrown into this whole idea of being on the front line and asking people for things and going outside of my comfort zone, and being really successful at it. It was not
Yeah.
what I thought it was going to be. So you
Yeah.
learn a lot along the way. So I think that's where my power comes from. And also, I just have this deep desire to help with some of this unnecessary suffering that people have
Yeah, I understand that.
otherwise.
I think that's universal for our field. I think people get into helping professions,
Yeah.
be, whether it's coaching or therapy or whatever it is for that, wanting it's a helping profession, wanting to alleviate some of the suffering that's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say somebody is you saying, well, this sounds like really a wonderful thing. I really would like to reclaim my value. I'd like to feel stronger, feel more powerful. I know that you have a special program by that same name. Tell me about some of the things that people experience, or the exercises or things they do in that program to help them move the needle, if you will, into
Yeah.
more power.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I think the whole foundation of it, my thought around reclaiming your power, is that lasting change comes when we gain insights. And from those insights, we make different choices that create something different.
Mhm.
So the program I have, it's called Reclaim Your Value. Um, it it has videos and one individual session, but the focus of it is to really look at the strengths that you bring from different angles. There's 6 exercises or steps that you walk through, and they include storytelling, inventorying what you have, brainstorming new ideas to use it, working with the other people in the group to help clarify some of these things. And one of my favorite is where we take the strengths that the person has identified and create what I refer to as a statement of professional strength. And that's an I statement where you take a word like I'm masterful at it. This is you claim your value. And this isn't something to use in marketing necessarily. It's more to move the needle, because the program, the desire, the intent of the program is really just to close the gap that somebody has between what they currently how they currently speak about themselves and the actions they take, and with what's true. So being able to move people to a place where they say, working with small children when they're upset is my superpower, or I have a world-class ability to write compelling copy. Whatever it is that they're really good at, moving it to a place where they're really claiming it. So the program, um, and in it, we're also brainstorming ways that they can start to leverage. Once they start owning these strengths that they have, then the next step is actually to figure out how to integrate them more into the offers that you have and the marketing that you do.
That sounds super powerful, an I am statement. And we're talking about business.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking like everybody should do this I am statement,
I
right?
think so. Yeah.
And even like young people, like teenagers, just to reclaim their power, which can be lost by then as well,
Yes, absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you've observed or you've learned in the process of helping people do just this?
Um, that people are really naturally resilient. When you put a structure together and you listen and you pay attention, and you get the structure that you move them through, they naturally start to develop more confidence. I think it's part of the, as you were talking about the healing process, it's like um, we do embody confidence, but we've gotten off track. So the moving back to it is like a natural process that unfolds if you set the stage correctly. I mean, if you hold the space correctly and give the space. So I think the resilience is really something that is remarkable. And the and I'm really always inspired by the passion and the impact that clients have. You know, that's I just see it not just with my clients, but other people I meet within the whole larger business community. There's so much desire to make a positive impact, and people are I mean, people that it's not necessarily they don't necessarily need to work for money always. They're committed to making an impact, and I find that just consistently inspiring always. You
Mm.
know, it's there's everybody. I just talk to people all the time that have that thread running through their lives.
Yeah.
Gives me hope. Yeah.
I guess it probably feeds your motivation even
Oh
more.
yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Um, and so, we both kind of play around in the positive intelligence space. So I want to just acknowledge that. And for those of you that are watching this live or on the replay, positive intelligence, and you don't know or you've never heard that term before. A positive intelligence is a framework that we use to help people really reach their full potential and identify the things that may be messing with their well-being and their success. And one of the things we do is we use an assessment to help people pinpoint some of we call them saboteurs. And there's things that may have helped us in the past, but might be just the thing that's getting in the way of where we want to be. And I know that, Roberta, you have done a lot of work and have educated a lot of coaches on the flip side of understanding their saboteurs. I'm wondering if you can speak to that or give us some examples of some things that might be considered patterns that sabotage us, but at the same time, there's this power component that can help.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. As Barbara was talking about, the positive intelligence has a framework where there are what we've referred to as saboteurs. And each of the saboteurs has strengths that are underneath them. The saboteurs actually overuse and abuse things that are natural strengths. And um, and I have over the last year done a lot of work on what does it mean to actually reclaim the sage strengths that what we have. And um, sure where to go with this, Barbara. I've got a lot of different directions I can go. It's just a really powerful process. I mean, and so this this program that I have, let's see, the reason I became so curious about it when I started exploring it is because this idea of owning our value has always been part of my work. And then as I got deeper into positive intelligence, I've recognized this place of um, strengths. And it was really triggered uh, a year or so ago when I was watching. Shirzad Shermain is the man that developed positive intelligence. And in one of his video trainings, he talks about being a person that pleases people, that he gets his identity. And so one of his saboteurs is over pleasing. But he makes a comment, it's just 2 sentences where he references that his entire success in his business has come from reclaiming the sage strengths underneath his desire to overplease. And I got really curious at that point. So that's what led me to really going a real deep dive into the whole reclaiming your sage strengths. So you asked what I've seen. Once there's an unraveling and start to recognize the sage strengths. I mean, for me, one of the things I recognize is one of the saboteurs is avoider. And I started to realize that avoiding isn't always about not doing things. Sometimes I'm waiting to get a real honest hit of what's the right thing to do. So sometimes our negative self-talk wants us to believe that avoiding is always a bad thing, and so there's this honest tape. But then to start recognizing that it's not all that our internal critic has convinced us of, that underneath those critics is the thread that we're talking about reclaiming our value. They're clues that
Yeah.
we can follow. Did
Yeah.
that answer your question?
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I can relate to that whole avoider thing too, as well. And yeah, there are strengths to that. So I love that you've really dived into that. And even with the people pleasers tend to be very empathetic,
That's right.
to lean
That's
in
right.
there as well.
High social intelligence. They're able to really empathize, and and so like knowing that about yourself is just real foundational. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's the power that you can
Yeah.
bring.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would think that could be part of that I am statement too, right? I am um,
Absolutely. Yes.
strong
Yes.
empathizer, and I can see things from different angles. Or for the avoider, I can pick and choose what's most important to address.
That's right.
Things
I
like
think the whole reclaim process really is one of is following clues. It's like being able to. It doesn't really, in some ways, it doesn't even matter where you go. I mean, I've got exercises I take people through, and we've got the information that we have around positive intelligence. But you can pick up clues anywhere. You start to notice a discomfort about the way a relationship is going, and you start to say, okay, so what's going on here, and get self-reflective. You start paying attention, and I think that's where is basically the core of the reclaiming. Whether it's about business or personal or whatever it is, like what's not working, and let's unpack it.
Yeah. And that sort of brings up the whole idea of, excuse me, when we do the work and we get strong, and let's say you've got someone who is now they're reclaiming their value and they're moving forward in their business, we know inherently things are going to come out of left field.
Yes.
And the plans that we make, it's not this upward line. It kind of goes up and down and up and down a little bit, hopefully keeping moving up or moving forward. I'm very visual, as you can tell. So tell me about your approach when you're working with someone who has something coming out of left field, or they've hit a dead end and it's sort of messing with their confidence and their motivation.
That's a great question. For me, it's really the slowing down and and looking at the situation honestly, because we react. We'll react, and something comes out of left field, and so with a client, there's a slowing down to understand the situation and be able to identify what the real issue is. And sometimes it's reactive, and sometimes it's really important. I mean, right from the start of working with somebody, it's like, what's the most important thing here to address?
Mm.
And so it's the same when there's a reaction. And it's, for me, this is a great question, Barbara, because that's the essence of the work I do. I want people to begin to be able to do this for themselves or with other partners, where they're able to slow themselves down, breathe, and take apart the situation. That's really, for me, the essence of being a successful business person.
Mm.
Is that's business savvy, is to be able to look at a situation and make the best guess answer to it, to reduce the time that somebody is in that uncertainty or that emotional discomfort. Even the biggest problems can be broken down to, okay, what do I do next? And that's where being confident in business comes from, is knowing how to slow down, evaluate, and decide what the next step is.
Yeah, I love that. Those sounds like some really good steps, and I don't know if anybody's been taking notes. I'm sure going to watch this again and jot some things down. I love that. Thank you, Roberta. Great
Yeah,
advice.
you're welcome.
And there's a little bit of navigation in there, right?
Yes,
Choosing what's most important.
choosing. Yeah, that's right.
I
That's
love
right.
I want to give you an opportunity just to share anything else that you think is important for people to know about this process of, reclaim, or the importance of reclaiming their value.
Um, that's a good question. Does anybody have any questions? Let's see if the audience has a question.
Yeah.
I know there's a lag time. You put them in there, and it takes a bit for it to show up for us. So let me just add the program that I've been talking about, the Reclaim Your Value. It's it's primarily a video training that has exercises with the key strategies that I've learned over the last 20 years coaching my clients. And it also includes a 90-minute group call once a month, and one 90-minute one-on-one session with me. And then there's an ongoing community chat. So there's a community element to it. And the results that come out of this is a greater ownership of your distinctive value, which we've talked about. And there's also a plan. One of the steps involves creating your own unique plan for leveraging your values. That's where we talked about bringing it into your marketing, and then also an understanding of why it's important to embody that confidence for your success. And the exercises that you have, you can continue to revisit, because this is not a do it and finished. It's like we're always evolving with that. I don't see any questions.
Well, I like that. Sounds very exciting. I love the idea of how we're going to leverage this and make a plan for the business. That sounds great. If someone is interested or they want to learn more, where's the best place to contact you, Roberta?
I've got my email right there on the screen, and I would just reach out to me and we'll set up a time to talk. The program is ongoing, so people enroll at any time. It's not a cohort that moves through together, and the cost is $300. I've intentionally made it very affordable so that I can bring this information to as many people as possible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and sharing your knowledge and expertise on this subject, which sounds like it's probably the most important part of the foundation of any business, and potentially any life. Right? I'm all about the journey. That journey's got to be great, and if you can lean into your power.
Okay, we've got it. We've got a questions here. Oh, good. One of them, in terms of the program, how long does it last? The program, you have access to the material for 90 days. And you can move at whatever pace you want. You can there's 6 steps. You can do one every week or one every other week. But you have access to it. Thanks, you don't have a name. You have a LinkedIn user. But thank you. And then we're interested in the embodiment part of confidence. Okay. Interested in the embodiment part of confidence. Could you elaborate on that? I'm not sure how to answer that. Embodiment. Barbara, do you have a thought?
Yeah, well, I just wondered, Sonia, if maybe you could clarify. Are you wondering about, like, how do you live that confidence? How does that show up for you?
Yeah, a little bit. Thank you. I could go a lot of directions.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Okay, so here's one thing. I know it takes a while. I think you post things. It takes us a while to see them, but we're in life, and there's things that we do that we just automatically do. I mean, it may be that we go in the kitchen and we just know how to make an omelet. There's no thinking about it. Or we know how to change the oil, or there's things that we do that we just automatically do. And then there's other things that that we hedge. Here's an example from my life. One of the things that has always been a challenge for me is if I'm in conversation with somebody that comes at life really intellectual, and they hold a position that they know. They know. And then I'm in a conversation with that person or a group of people, and I have something come to my mind that contradicts it. And in the past, I wouldn't say anything. I wasn't confident with my perspective on certain situations. I'm sometimes not as articulate as I'd like to be. And if somebody is articulate, I'll just, but as I've become more confident with my perspective, the way I see things, slowly there's been stages. There's a stage where I say, okay, I've got something to say here and I'm going to say it, so that I consciously make a choice to do something differently. But over time, what's happening is more and more, I just speak without thinking ahead of time. I think that's the embodied, is when you just go cook the eggs. You just speak. And I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, and that is, I hope so as well. I found that very helpful. And Sony, thank you for clarifying also, how do you live it and how do you show up for you? What came up for me was that whole, like, do we fake it till we make it? Like, what if I don't feel confident, but I know
Yeah.
it served me to show up as confident?
Well, I think that's a great perspective, because I think that's the place that, for this to happen, that we are uncomfortable at times.
Yeah.
We take risks, just like you say, you're masterful at taking risks. It's part of your approach in life. Um,
Yeah. Oh, hey, Melanie. Melanie joined us.
yes.
Now.
It's part of your approach to life. And so, in the process of gaining that embodiment of your confidence, you take risks because it's important. And we take risks because we see the result. We start to, you see it one place and then you go, oh, I like this. And you start to connect to why it's so important to your business success. And then you take a little more risk. And we do that in a lot of different places. So I hope that helped.
Yeah.
Yes, she's a great example. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so please reach out to me. I'd love to share more about the program. I'll send you a link for a web page. I would put it in here, but I don't know how.
Yeah, you can. You know what? So here's what we can do is, this is being live streamed right now through YouTube and LinkedIn Live. There is a comment section, and we can add to the comment section afterward, Roberta, the link to the program.
Yes. Okay.
There's also, for those of you that are not on a mobile phone, you do see there's a QR code. You can scan that for more information as well. And yeah, I mean, I feel like we could talk for a long time just upon, like, where and how do I exemplify confidence, or fake it till you make it, if you will, which doesn't mean being fake.
No, it doesn't, because I don't think, one of the things I'm real clear on is that when we talk about the statements or any of this stuff, this isn't about being not yourself. This is about being more yourself. And so that your real self, I know my real self has important things to contribute to a conversation. So I'm determined to grow that part of me that speaks confidently. And so this isn't about being something you're not. This is about being more of who you are, which is exactly what all you claim in all your work, right, Barbara?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I feel like I want to quote that and just, like, put it on a billboard,
More of who you are. And before we close, Barbara, did you want to share anything about the program you're developing?
Well, yes, actually, I probably going to launch first quarter, and it is a year of living better. And I'm taking, well, as you know, I started in training and education on a corporate level, left there, went into sales, found out, it's not what you think it is, and it's so much easier than you think it is, and so much so much more satisfying than you think it is, because you get to help more people with the more sales that you make. And of course, in my coaching business, there are a lot of things that I use with clients one-on-one and in group coaching. And I pulled all, like, the best tools together that people can use to have a year of living better. And they're the kinds of things that people can take for years to come. So I'm probably going to launch that later first quarter, after everyone's resolutions have sort of, like, quieted down and not quite taken root. We know how that goes. But in the meantime, yeah, I mean, I'm more active blogging now. So if you like anything you're hearing today, definitely follow me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, probably going to do a little more of that in 2024 as well. And or DM if you've got any questions. But if you follow me, you'll get some great content. Right now, I'm working on a blog about fear. I feel like so much of what I do is about fear and uncertainty and taking a risk more easily. So if you like those kinds of topics, definitely follow me so you can get notified when some new content comes out. So thank you for asking, Roberta. I appreciate you.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has been wonderful, and I appreciate everybody that's joined us.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. I hope that you found this information helpful and useful. If there are other topics that you would like to chat about, get online, get on camera, or otherwise that you'd like addressed, definitely reach out to Roberta or to me. So we appreciate
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Wonderful day, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.